Well, here's a few news articles while we're waiting for the official start time. So I saw this a few days ago. Now, the Texas abortion activists, Texas Right to Life, put up a website so that people in Texas could report tips on people they saw that they figured were going to get abortions so that they could be sued. And this was so controversial and aroused such a storm of anger and attacks that they kicked them off GoDaddy, where they had been hosted. So they moved to Epic, which is the Washington-based hosting company that hosts far-right stuff, including the American Nazi Party. And Epic kicked them off, and they moved to Russia, Russian hosting, where these kind of things can survive anything. But anyway, Epic had previously aroused the ire of liberal groups for hosting the Nazis and parties like that, and they got hacked. There was an announcement about a week ago, a typical anonymous sort of announcement proclaiming they'd been hacked, and I wasn't sure whether it was true or fake, but many people are now reporting that it is true, and they have links where you can download this stuff, and they're talking about it, and Epic is still denying that they've been hacked and announcing that it's all fake and they haven't been hacked, which is fairly common for amateurish companies to do this, to just try to lie completely about it, but it seems to be absolutely undeniable that they've been hacked. And they even got someone who claims to be a security consultant working for one of Epic's customers who researched it to decide if they'd been hacked, and he said indeed they'd been hacked to a dreadful extent, and that they had credit card numbers and passwords all in plain text, all stolen, and by the way, obviously with SQL injection. You can spot this. This is the output of SQL map, which you probably know if you're taking the penetration testing courses. So they dumped out everything, and people are now trawling through it, and they say they can find out who in fact was running all the notorious right-wing and Nazi and conspiracy websites, many of whom try to conceal their actual ownership. I suppose they might possibly even be liable for lawsuits, although that never seems to happen. But anyway, people are wandering through this data, and it's available on various sites, including one called DDoS something or other, which is someplace where journalists put stolen data for people to download. Which, by the way, is illegal too. Distributing stolen data, I'm pretty sure that's illegal. Anyway, so apparently they really did get hacked, and so there will presumably be some news stories and articles coming out of what things were found in there. And they actually did find people in there and call them to verify that they really were the people who ran these websites, and they got at least one person to admit that he was in fact that person. So the data definitely seems authentic, the hack definitely seems authentic, and it seems like you would expect from anybody handling that kind of content. They're kind of amateurish and unprofessional, not securing stuff, not encrypting stuff. That's very common for people who have some really strong political axe to grind. They're in an extreme position like that. They probably don't have much money, and they probably are primarily focused by their political mission. You typically find that people with strong passions like that don't really think much about the technical side of stuff. Anyway, I was stunned by the news tonight, where I heard about the gymnasts that were molested by this Larry Nassar guy, but I had no idea how bad it is. Hundreds of gymnasts over 20 years have testified to the FBI, and the FBI just completely ignored them, told them to shut up and stop complaining, said they weren't really being molested and who cares, did nothing. And this is not the first time this happened. They talked to a lawyer who's been working for women who get molested on Indian reservations, and she said it's exactly the same. You can talk to the FBI, they don't hear it, they don't care, they tell the victims to just shut up and stop complaining. And apparently this is a known tradition in the FBI, because for some reason, if you have online pornography, like child porn, they will do something about that. But if you have an actual face-to-face rape, they don't care. I know police departments all through the United States also just throw away those cases, and the rape kits just sit untested. And the end result is that the chance of a rape actually being prosecuted or anybody actually going to jail is like 1%, which is why women frequently don't testify, don't tell the cops, don't do anything, because in practice, all it does is cause more pain and doesn't actually accomplish anything. But as this gets exposed over the last few years with the Me Too movement and everything, hopefully we can make some progress towards improving it, because it really is appalling. And hopefully they'll be able to do something about the FBI. There's a group on as a account called CCSF Student Says on Twitter. And I've noticed them before because they got mad and got all mad at me for making some jokes. But, I don't know who it is. It's apparently a student or some kind of student club or something. But anyway, they say that somebody robbed the city college and that the campus cops didn't do anything about it, and they stole stuff from the art department. And so I sort of wonder if they stole other things. So it might be worth going down to see. Of course, the college has been pretty much deserted all through COVID, more than a year, so you probably could just break in. And the campus cops, the only thing they do is parking. So people who imagine they're going to actually protect the buildings in other ways are pretty much fooling themselves. And I don't know how many of them have been around during COVID either, so I'm sure it would actually be quite easy to just go in, especially if you went in at night and just break in the building and steal stuff, and the chance of anybody actually being there to do anything about it would be very small during COVID. So in a way, this is not too surprising. So I haven't seen any official statement from the college yet, though, and I don't know if this is true. This is basically a rumor you see on Twitter from some anonymous account. I don't really know who this is or whether they can be trusted. But it sounds quite plausible to me. So this is unbelievable. It's like the Onion. Because of Brexit, the British want to go back to pounds and ounces. I thought it was kind of hilarious. America is the only place still using the old British system. Even Britain doesn't use it anymore. But the Brits want to go back to it because they say they were forced to knock it off for compliance with the metric system in order to be in the EU, and now they don't have to anymore. So we'll see what happens there. It seems amazing because, we should, all my life, I think in the 60s I started hearing we're going to go metric. We should totally go metric. It would save tons of money. It would be much more in compliance with the world. Every car in American cars and all the people that build any American gadgets have to have two sets of tools because one is in inches and one is in centimeters. It doesn't make any sense at all. I can't believe any modern nation would willingly go back to using the imperial system. But apparently they're considering, are really going to do it in Britain. So this student sent me this. It's very interesting. This is an artificial intelligent gadget that writes computer code. And it'll write a video game. All you describe it is make a rocket ship, make a meteor this big, have it bounce around, detect the collisions, and it will write the code from your description, like in English. So that's amazing. And we'll see how this goes. This is what I've heard from all the talks about AI that I've seen, that AI is going to come in the form of smart assistants to help us. And it will, right now we have grammar checkers and stuff, and we'll have more and more types of systems helping us. Which reminds me, there is a guest lecture coming up on Tuesday about AI and the future of work. So you might tune in on Tuesday evening if you want to hear a talk about that. Don't go to my usual Twitch. Click this link. It goes to this Bay ICT group we work with. So they're going to have a Zoom link over there you go to hear that talk. Anyway, so the audit in Arizona, the fake audit from the Cyber Ninjas guy, which has just incredible, it's just like a disaster. It's like the Three Stooges pretending to do an election audit, that they actually did so many mistakes that they caused millions of dollars of damage to election equipment by not securing it, by meddling with it without any proper controls. Now they're trying to do it in Pennsylvania, even though the audit in Arizona completely failed and collapsed, and they just sort of gave up and wandered off and never even had any results. After consuming a lot of money, they want to do it in the GOP, and they're doing what was the end of the Arizona one. They are demanding to know the personal information of the voters. What they wanted to do in Arizona was go knock on people's door and ask them, did you really vote? Is this really your ballot and stuff, to verify the ballot. And that's extremely illegal. You can't hand out that data to just some random guy. You can't have people going to people's doors to ask them about their voting. I don't think that's legal at all in America, but that's what they want to do in Pennsylvania, and apparently the lawmakers have approved it. So they claim they're going to have to hand over the personal information about voter registration to random right-wing figures in Pennsylvania. So it's bad. The current state of politics in America is very bad. I've seen the number of Republicans. Cyber Ninjas is it's a one-man company in Florida. The guy in charge is a major conspiracy theorist and Trump supporter, and so they brought him in to do this audit. But he pretty much I mean, one of the many things is you ought to lose a CISSP, because one of the rules of a CISSP, he probably has a CISSP, and one of the requirements to have a CISSP, which I have, is you are not allowed to take a job that you are not competent to do. And he is completely incompetent to do an election audit, and he made enormous mistakes that shouldn't have been done by a proper election audit company that has any experience and knows the rules. So, but anyway, I'm not quite sure how you define legit. Apparently, it's a real security company. He gave a talk at one of the conventions I went to. So he is like a one-man security company, of which there's a lot of them, and that's not illegal. But it's the kind of security we're doing here, like web security and stuff. In no way does it prepare you to do an election audit. But it's not a real audit. It's remember, that's what Trump did. That's what he did in the Ukraine. He wanted them to just claim that there was an investigation into something without ever really having an investigation, so he can use it for political purposes. And he's made huge inroads by just saying there's an audit, and therefore there's some doubt about the election. And now, it's grown from like 50% of Republicans up to like 80% of Republicans now believe the vote was stolen. That Biden is not really the one that won, and therefore all the elections are corrupt. And they believe it just because they've heard it, not from any evidence, because all the evidence inspected in court in about 80 lawsuits, there was never any evidence, but they don't need any evidence. They can just start the rumor. And so that's why I'm worried about the state of the country. I think we now have a large group of people that believe the government is illegitimate and believe the elections are illegitimate, and that's how you end up in a state of civil war. I mean, I think, and I don't know how to make them feel better. Well, the CIA recall was fake claimed. Days before it came out, Trump claimed that the California recall was going to be fraudulent, and Larry Elder claimed it was going to be fraudulent. They totally did claim it was fraudulent, and he said Larry Elder raised money to fund lawsuits to protest it. But then after it was over, he seemed to say that he wasn't going to do that election. The voting machines, I don't think were ever online. As far as I know, the voting machines run locally, and they store the votes on USB sticks. They are not connected to the internet at all. And then you gather those USB sticks and process them later. That's the point. So the pillow guy claiming that he has the PCAPs, proving that the Russians hacked them or the Chinese hacked them or something, that's all complete garbage. And a real security expert went to the conference where he claimed to have the PCAPs, and there were never any PCAPs. They don't even have PCAPs. They're just, what's going on with him, and this is another thing that should lose your CISSP and probably put you in jail, is a bunch of security professionals are taking his money and just pretending to find files and analyze files when there are no files and it's all just garbage, and giving him fake garbage that just looks like something and taking his money. He's just being exploited by crooked security people. There is no evidence, just like Rudy Giuliani. It's voting machines were listed on Shodan during the election. Well, I'd have to see that. That's very strange. They're not supposed to be. Anyway, all right. Well, let's get down to the official stuff. I'll stop this one.